Hey, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera Show. I'm so glad you decided to join me tonight. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting ready for Christmas. And I was thinking about what I could make tonight on the show, and I remembered those beautiful Christmas parties that we used to have at the FIMU House in Athens. Honestly, I have worn this book to a frazzle. In fact, there's pages that there's so much stuff on it, you can't even see the recipe anymore. But I had so many great memories of those beautiful parties and some of the foods that we would have at special events that I thought this would be the perfect time to reintroduce that. So tonight I'm going to be doing a wonderful hot wassail that's just wonderful. You can prepare it. It makes quite a bit. You can just enjoy it the entire month of December. I'm going to do a Crackle top snack that uses my favorite Jiffy cornbread mix. It's a kind of a sweet and salty. You'll love that. We're going to do a cocktail meatball that has a delicious sauce that's got a little bit of a kick to it. And then finally, a beautiful lace cookie, but it's got a twist, so it might be a little different from the one that you're using. You know, I started thinking maybe I could just actually wear the FIMU jersey that I wore when I was there, but it's a little ragged, may have some holes in some places that I didn't need to have on TV. So we'll let that just be a prop tonight, but I'm going to get started with this wonderful Crackle top snack. Like I said, Jiffy cornbread mix. If you've got to do something fast, that's my favorite of all the cornbread mixes. So we're going to prepare 2 boxes according to the package directions. So that would be a box, an egg for each box, so 2 eggs total, and then 2/3 a cup of whole milk. And we're just going to mix this up. And I've also prepared my pan. It's a 15.5 by 12-inch jelly roll pan or sheet pan, and I've just buttered it really well. And when we get ready to spread this in the pan, it's going to barely cover it up. So just like the name, Crackle top snack, it's going to be kind of crispy as opposed to fluffy like you would normally serve your cornbread. So just like any other quick bread, you want to just get the ingredients moistened and don't over stir. So that's just about where we need it to be. Now I'm going to go ahead and get it in the pan. And like I said, it may not be barely covering the bottom of this pan, but that's exactly what the recipe says. And you know, the lady, the house mother that made this cookbook was not the house mother that was there when I was there, but those are some of my fondest memories of the wonderful meals that we had. As a matter of fact, it's amazing that I could even fit into that jersey because I ate everything they put in front of me at that FIMU house. The food was delicious. All right, so I'm just going to take my spatula and I'm just evenly spreading this around in the pan. And then we've got some wonderful things we're going to put on top. Bacon, you can't go wrong with that. Coarsely ground salted peanuts, another one of my favorite foods. And then Parmesan cheese, and then finally melted butter. So this is just about where it needs to be. And this is one of those treats that you can get that young person in the kitchen working with you. So I'm going to start with the peanuts. We're just going to go all the way across the top. And I've got my oven preheated at 375. And this is going to cook for about 20 to 25 minutes. And as always, these recipes are on the website at vera.nbc26.tv. And it'll take you straight to the site. And if you've missed some of the shows, you're going to find some other recipes that might come in really handy that I've done for the last couple of years on the show for holiday. Okay, and I like to do a salted peanut. Okay, now let's do some bacon bits, and these are going to cut into little squares and are going to display really pretty on a tray. And then the Parmesan cheese, and I love to pick this up already grated at Fresh Market. Makes this even easier to do. This would even be really good as a snack with soup on a cold night. Okay, the melted butter is going to go on. And when we come back from the break, I'm going to get started on those delicious lace cookies. So come back with me in just a few minutes. Welcome back, and you know, this time of year I think we all love to reminisce about some of our favorite holiday traditions, and it's crazy that I would remember the FIMU House Christmas party as one of my favorite memories. You know, people ask me all the time, when did you get interested in entertaining and cooking and having people into your home? And honestly, I can go back and tell you that between the grandeur of the property at that house in Athens and the silver and the way the parties were done at Christmas time, it just is just what I think about when I think about traditional holiday entertaining. So to go back to that cookbook tonight and put together some of these recipes is quite a lot of fun. Lace cookies have got to be at the top of the list of favorites during the holidays, and they're so easy to make and so beautiful. And this recipe may be a little different from yours, so I want you to listen and pay attention. Remember, again, the recipes will be on the website, but let's start with 3 eggs and a half of a teaspoon of salt. And I'm gonna mix those together. And as always, I've got all of my ingredients already measured out and ready, which makes the recipe, especially this one, because it has so much baking powder in it, you wanna be ready as you get all these steps going. Okay, so now I've got a 1.5 cups of sugar that I'm gonna add slowly to this egg mixture. And this is, again, one of the recipes that you can make in advance, store in an airtight container, and be ready either with a quick gift or something to put out on the table when you have guests over and you want just a really light dessert at the end of the night. If I made these at home, I can tell you that my husband would take the lid off that can and that would be it. They would all be gone. It's one of his favorite desserts. Okay, so now I'm gonna start adding the other ingredients, which this is what I think might be a little different from yours. It uses 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, a teaspoon of vanilla, and I want to shout out to my buddy Melissa who made this vanilla for me. Okay, I've got a 1.5 tablespoons of melted butter, and now I'm going to put in 4 teaspoons of baking powder. So that's what makes these so light and airy, is the leavening in the baking powder. Alrighty, and now I've got just regular quick oatmeal, and I've got 3.5 cups of that. So I'm going to switch from my wire whisk to my handy wooden spoon, and we'll get all that mixed in. And you know, I love to keep oatmeal just in the house, not to eat as much as it's a great filler when you're making meatloaves too. In fact, I use that a lot of times instead of breadcrumbs. That's another tip for you out there. Some of the comments that you all make to me on the website have to do with what some of your favorite parts are, and I love it when you say like the little special tips or the etiquette tip or whatever it may be. Okay, so now we have a really nice mixture, and these are going to spread out quite a bit, so I'm going to use just a regular tablespoon, and I'm going to start dropping these tablespoon at a time, and you want to leave enough space for these to grow on the sheet pan. I have sprayed aluminum foil with cooking spray, and that's going to make it a lot easier to get them off when they're done. So these are going to go into a 400-degree oven for about 10 minutes, and when we come back from the break, we're going to get started on those delicious cocktail meatballs. So come back with me in just a few minutes. People ask ask me all the time, what do you do about putting sauce on the table? Do you put it in a container to pass, or do people just put it directly on their plate? And I love to give the suggestion of these little sauce containers that you can pick up anywhere. These happen to be wood. I have quite a little collection of sauce containers. But the reason I like that is that when you're doing a meat, for example, that you're going to use with a sauce, it's always nice to give the guest the opportunity to dip into the sauce as opposed to having it on the plate where you're making that circular motion and the sauce is going all over the plate. So kind of start looking for things like that. One of the things that makes it really nice is it creates a new appearance for your presentation on the plate. It makes for a really nice little collection, and you could do different ones for each plate. So sauce containers are a perfect way to present a pretty plate and to keep it pretty throughout the whole meal. Welcome back, and we are getting ready for a great Christmas party thanks to the fine new cookbook from the University of Georgia. And you know, those were the days, and I am still having so much fun remembering some of these recipes and how we decorated and how beautiful that historic house looked in Athens. So whether you've got a historic house or whether you want to do this on your outside patio kitchen, these are great recipes for Christmas time or any time for entertaining. So we're going to put together a cocktail meatball, and I've got sweet Italian sausage, and you can get the butcher at Fresh Market to grind it up for you fresh. And on Tuesdays, y'all, they always have that ground chuck, $2.99 a pound. You cannot beat it. I load up on it, put it in the freezer, and they'll package it for you in whatever increments you want. So we're starting with both of those. We're going to add to that some half and half, so half a cup, 2 eggs, and about a tablespoon of kosher salt. So I'm just going to get started with the fun part, and that's mixing it up. And then I don't know how many of you have ever made that green bean casserole that calls for the French fried onion rings, but I would venture to say that that has probably put that company on the map because everybody makes that recipe. Well, this recipe also calls for those onion rings. So instead of chopped onions, we're going to add half of that container full of those French fried onion rings. And then instead of regular breadcrumbs, I'm going to put the croutons that I pick up at Fresh Market and just put those in the food processor and got them nice and crushed up. That way you've got a variety of flavor with the different breads. I think there was pumpernickel and rye and sourdough, everything imaginable in there. All right, so we just want to get this mixed really well. And in the meantime, I've got my cast iron skillet that's getting hot over here with a little bit of olive oil, probably about 1/4 of a cup to that large pan. And we're going to make these into like just a little bit bigger than a marble, maybe about the size of a walnut size meatballs. And as always, when I make these different meatball recipes, I love to suggest that if you make a few extra, you can have something really great the next time you make spaghetti. And then even better, make a big batch and make some for a meatloaf, because this would also make a really good meatloaf. So what I do when I make the meatballs is I try to just pat it out and not get it too concentrated, because you want the meatballs not to be really dense and hard, but you know, really nice. And if you wanted to get this done really quickly, you could also do these on a sheet pan and put them in the oven. I just happen to like the little bit of seared that you get when you put them in the pan. All right, so we're going to get a few of these going. I'll turn that up just a little bit. I love that sound when they go in the pan. And this is one of those things, if you just set a day aside, you know, right now before it gets really crazy, and do some of the things that you want to have Christmas weekend, it just makes it so much nicer for everybody, because I don't know about you, but I get real stressed out. And the more I can do ahead, the better I'm going to feel about that. All right, so we're going to get those going in the pan, and then I want to get started on this sauce before we have to go to break. So let me wipe my hands off real quick, and I'm going to turn this down so we can get started on the sauce. Okay, the sauce uses my favorite ingredient, which is chili sauce. So we're going to do 2 cups, actually 3 cups of chili sauce. And you want to cook this on top of the stove just to get all the flavor through, because this is going to pour over the meatballs when you get them in the chafing dish. And I've got such a pretty chafing dish I'm going to use tonight too, but I'm going to give you some other suggestions there. It uses a half of a jar of horseradish, not horseradish sauce, but horseradish, Worcestershire sauce, a tablespoon, and then a squeezed lemon. And if you want to, you can add a little bit of hot sauce to it. With the chili sauce being a little bit spicy and the horseradish going, I'm not going to add any more hot sauce, but that's going to get cooking. We're going to keep working with these meatballs while we're on the break, and when we come back, I'm going to show you how to get all of this displayed really pretty for your next Christmas event. So come back with me after the break. Welcome back and Merry Christmas. And I've had such a great time starting off the month of December making some of my favorite things, memories of the FIMU house at the University of Georgia. And you know, I was telling one of the camera guys, Matt Lane, while we were on break, that I was actually the song leader at the FIMU house. Now, can y'all imagine me jumping out of the house with my hands going like that? And I really can't sing that well. So they must have been desperate for somebody to do that. I don't know how I got selected. But anyway, I had such great fun during those times, and I've loved watching girlfriends' children pledge FIMU at Georgia, and just, you know, it was just a great special time for me. But while we were away during the break, I got the rest of the meatballs browned in the skillet, and they just turned out so well, and I've got them ready to serve. And then also made the wassail, which is truly part of the tradition at the FIMU house during Christmas. And it is very easy to make, and it lasts for quite a long time in the refrigerator. But it's a gallon of apple cider, and I actually at Fresh Market bought the cider that has the bits of apple in it, just to have a little something extra in there with it. Pineapple juice, a whole can, a jar of apricot nectar, a cup of cranberry juice, a cup of lemon juice, and then you've got cinnamon sticks. And I added oranges that I cloved with whole cloves. So I put my knife in and made a mark, and then just stuck the whole clove down in there. So those are floating in the top. I got that into my beautiful red pottery bowl. You know how much I love my pottery, and I love to mix it with silver and copper baskets. So I poured that in there, and that's going to be my punch bowl. So here we have it, a beautiful display. The wassail on the corner with the oranges floating. I sliced a few to go in there. The meatballs are in my copper chafer, and I've got a little bit more of the sauce that I'm going to put on just at the last minute. It's just delicious. And we'll have toothpicks to go with that, and everybody can just come and have as many or as as they like. It's also a great dish to pass if you're having a fancier party. And then the cornbread, the Crackle top cornbread snack is so good. It's really good right out of the oven, so I highly recommend this dish. If you're decorating the tree and you want to have something very simple for dinner, maybe a cup of soup or a bowl of chili, this would be great to go with it. And then the lace cookie, these turned out so well. And I showed you earlier how they just popped right off of the aluminum foil, but it's just a nice crisp cookie. And something else that you could do to these that would make it really nice would be to drizzle chocolate and let it get hard on the top. Would be really, really nice. So I have a few things that I want you to do for me. You know, I held up my FIMU jersey and talked about how I wore that when I was in college. Well, now I'm wearing something different. Now I'm wearing the VeryVera Show t-shirt. So I would like to encourage you to send me your favorite Christmas recipe. and I'm going to choose one, and whomever I choose is going to get one of these t-shirts that I want you to wear all over the place. And when somebody asks you about it, you're going to say, well, you know what, that's my favorite show. That's what I want you to do. So email me at vera@nbc26.tv and send me that favorite Christmas recipe and let me look over some of those. I want to also remind you that I'm doing my winter classes with children coming up in January, February, and March. We're doing a winter comfort food, we're doing a Valentine's Saturday, and then we're doing Easter in March. If you sign up for all three, you get a $25 discount. So go online at VeryVera.com and look at our VeryVera school and get that information. And then finally, just, you know, again, all of these wonderful cookbooks are so important to us. And I've got a very special guest next week. Sherry Castle is coming to do her community Southern Living cookbook. The following week, I've got a chef from Columbus, Georgia. So 2 really great weeks. So I'm going to wrap it up by saying what I always say. No matter what you do it in good taste. And come back and join me again next Saturday for another episode of the VeryVera Show. Merry Christmas.